So I'm Ashley. I am a marketer, writer, and speaker by day, and a singer, actor, and fitness fiend by night. And so this was my view in March of 2020. I perform in musicals regularly, and so I was standing on the empty stage waiting for rehearsal to start, and I snapped this picture. And given that it was March 2020, we were starting to hear rumors that people's shows were getting shut down and that we might not be able to open our show. And so, in fact, we had our costumes, we had our mics, we had finished all the rehearsals, and we didn't get a chance to actually perform our show. And so we jumped into this crazy world where everything was virtual. And so you can see I'm alone in my living room trying to record something by balancing my laptop on a bucket. I was alone in my kitchen trying to record something with my kitchen table. And then I was alone again in my living room trying to record something on my laptop. And so we had this whiplash of like, everything's in person. We can have this community. We can have this time together. And now suddenly we're thrown into everything is behind a screen. And then something really crazy happened. I got the chance to go into the office for a couple of days. And I know some people have been in person in school or in person in the office or in person for the last year, but most of us have not. And the thing that you'll notice about this is there's still a screen and it's still kind of empty. I'm still by myself. And so we're craving that human connection. We're craving that community, but we're in this weird space where we don't know what that looks like going forward. Is it all digital? Is it virtual? Is it hybrid? Is it 100% in person? How do we process this? And this trend of kind of being against digital has been happening for a while. So obviously the pandemic accelerated it, and quarantine and restrictions have made it more poignant, but this has been happening for a while. So why is this happening? Well, there's a couple of big trends. I encourage you to follow the Edelman Trust Barometer. They've been producing this for almost a decade now. And one of the things that they found is that institutional trust has been declining over the last decade, and it's now at an all-time low. And so because of this, people trust people like themselves the most. They trust their peers. They want someone that they know personally or a friend of a friend. That's where they want to get their information. That's who they want to connect with. They no longer trust the traditional forms of authority, like mass media, like government, like religious leaders, like CEOs. And in some cases, they're struggling to even trust technical experts. They really want to focus on that peer-to-peer connection. Next, screen fatigue is up. So the Virtual Human Interaction Lab at Stanford University actually ran a whole study over the last year to talk about, is Zoom fatigue real? And if so, why? And it turns out that it is. So video actually is a higher cognitive load for the brain. So all of that virtual connection means that we're having to sit closer up, like from an eye perspective, we have a much closer perspective than we're used to when we talk in person. And it's also much harder to parse nonverbal communication when you're on video. So all of the little things that your brain just naturally processes when you're talking to somebody face to face, it's a much higher cognitive load to process that when you're on video. So screen fatigue, Zoom fatigue is up. And finally, social media does not equal social connection. So we found that social media is as addictive as drugs. And in fact, a lot of doctors' offices are starting to offer social media addiction treatment because people are so focused on scrolling. It's just addictive. They're spending so much time being on social. But in fact, social media actually makes us sad, jealous, and depressed. So we go there for connection, but it actually ends up disconnecting us more. So as we think about this as brands and influencers, how do we combat this? So I come at this from a B2B marketing perspective. And the answer is actually surprisingly simple, and that's be human. But it's really hard to be human when you're online. And sometimes it's hard to bring those human elements into an online or virtual space. So today I want to talk through a couple of the real world examples and solutions to unite those online and offline experiences and bring that human element back to your technology experiences. So first, real people and authentic conversations. So if you're going to be participating online, put a name to a face. So we've done that at Atlassian. And in a lot of cases, when someone does a demo, they want to find the right person. It's an actor, it's a marketer, it's someone who's an amazing presenter. But what we found, particularly marketing to a developer audience, is they want to connect with their peers. It goes back to that trust and credibility that I showcased earlier from the Edelman Barometer. So instead of hiring an actor, we get designers, we get engineering managers, we get product managers who actually build the products to go on and showcase the features that they've built. And so we publish those in short form videos on YouTube. We share them on social, and then we invite people to engage in an Ask Me Anything conversation directly with the developer. And so you can find out, hey, why did you build it this way? Hey, what's coming down the road? Oh, I actually have another question about an adjacent feature that integrates with this one. And because we have that one-to-one connection, we build that trust and we build that community. We also do this when we engage on Twitter. So we launched a big update to our flagship product, Jira, and we actually engaged individual Atlassians to come in and comment from their personal handles. So we have the brand handles engaged, but we also have real people engaged. And as you can see, people really like it. This is a direct quote. It says, "I like this trend of PMs directly answering some questions, direct accountability, and direct feedback. Is this you answering on your own, or is this an official thing at Atlassian?" And the answer is actually both. We want to empower real people to answer questions directly and have that one-to-one engagement to shift the sentiment. Next, unite your online and offline stories. So this is an example from a company I worked at previously called Polera. They're a cloud access security broker. And so we attended this large in-person trade show called AWS reInvent. And we created a little bit of a unique giveaway in the booth. We put an Amazon tap in a locked case, which you can see there on the screen. And next to it, we had a bowl of what looked like identical keys. And so you could draw a key out of the bowl. And if it unlocked the case, then you won the tap. Now, there were a ton of security professionals at this conference. And so, of course, they thought there were no working keys in the bowl at all. So what did we do? Every time someone won, we would snap a picture. We would ask if we could post it to our company Twitter handle. And then if they had a Twitter account, we would tag them and ask them to like and retweet the photo. And so every time someone said, oh, there's not even any working keys, I could turn my phone around and say, no, follow us on Twitter. And you could see the last person who won. You could see how often people are winning. Now, the other thing that we did here is we created an ebook that we shared on Twitter and that we also shared on SlideShare. And we created a printout in the booth. So what a lot of companies do when they go to a trade show is they just kind of shout. They say, visit us at booth 123, visit us at booth 123. I'm not even at the event. I can't visit you. So you now effectively just spammed me for 3 days on social media. So by sharing a digital version of the ebook and a physical version of the ebook, we united those stories. And so the people on Twitter could understand, okay, this is why people are talking about the different keys in this giveaway. And it obviously has a number of different security stories, but it also connects directly to customer stories and problems that we could solve for them. And then the other great thing about this is because it was all connected across social, the booth, the giveaway, and the physical printout, when we scanned people's badge at the booth, we could say, hey, do you want to take this physical item or do you want us to email it to you after the show? And of course, a lot of people were like, I don't want to be carrying this around the entire trade show. Please email me. And so our email rates after the show to people we had scanned were significantly higher open rates and significantly improved click-through rates. And so we connected that entire story and experience online and offline. Next, foster an online community and the offline community. So I want to highlight something that Atlassian has done. We've built this global online and offline community. And previously, it was all in person. We had people doing meetups. We would come, we would share, we would sponsor the event, we'd buy food and drinks, and we would bring people together. But as COVID restrictions and travel restrictions started, we shifted our focus to say connect globally, but meet locally. Find the people who are in your time zone. Find the people who have the same products and the same problems that you have. And we added this virtual component. And so we gave people backgrounds to be able to unite the space virtually. And we started to bring in these customs from in-person to online. So we tailored these to the community. So for example, one of the things that we've started doing even internally is this raise the roof, right? Normally when you're in person, you would clap, but it's real weird to sit alone in your kitchen and clap. And so we added this visual element of raise the roof. We added this visual element of, we call it the wobble, where you're like, give everyone a wobble, right? Raise your hands. So think about how you can translate some of those physical things that used to happen in person to this external audience that's happening virtually. And then, of course, we empowered people to continue their in-person engagements. So this is an example from our Atlassian community in Nairobi. They were celebrating their 5th anniversary as a community, and they created this insane cake. This thing is 5 layers with the Atlassian logo, celebrating the Atlassian community in Nairobi. You can see that they also had an in-person photo booth, but then they shared those online. So they had crazy glasses, they had crazy hair, they snapped the pictures, put it in a frame, and there's now an online gallery. And so again, they're bringing together not just the documentation of what happened, but they're intentionally creating those moments that are meant to be shared from in-person to online. Next, this one's a little counterintuitive, and that's go completely analog. So I worked for Duarte, which is a communication, presentation, and design firm, and we were known for our handcrafted, very thoughtful customer gifts at the holidays. So one of my colleagues, his name is Joe Perez, he's an outstanding video editor and designer. He actually hand wrote this little opening to the customer gift. And then we scanned it in and kind of tailored it so that when you opened this, you had this beautiful handcrafted experience. And it says, open the box, set the stage, and let these stories light your way. And the gift was actually this tiny projector. And you can see it here, like it's hard to tell, but it was only a couple of inches wide by a couple of inches high. And so we created these very specific slides that you could put in that when you turned on the projector, they projected onto a mini screen that we sent. And then we had cards of different orators and speech givers throughout history. And then we projected a speech onto it. And we had laid it out very specifically so that you would roll this thing out and it would be the right distance to project those quotes onto the person giving them to create this really unique handcrafted experience. And people loved it. They were snapping pictures. They were sending us notes. They kept it on their desk so they could every so often just shine an inspirational quote onto an inspirational person and feel that. And again, it was this handcrafted, handwritten, very tactile experience to build that sense of wonder and inspiration for someone daily. And last, use online mediums to push people offline. So I want to highlight a very unique campaign that the city of Vienna ran recently, and that was Enjoy Vienna, not #Vienna. They specifically didn't want you to share all your photos online and hashtag where you were going. Now, this is counterintuitive because, again, most marketers measure the reach and impressions via their hashtags on social media. So what the heck are you supposed to do if you're not going to use hashtags? So what they did is they created this unique online experience to basically curate different paths for different types of vacations. So if you enjoy a culinary experience, come enjoy our food, enjoy our wine. Here's a whole set of vendors who provide these curated experiences. If you like the outdoors, come hike. Here's all of our trails. Here's all of the great places where you can see these beautiful views. And instead of saying, snap a picture and hashtag it, they said, come to the tourist center and pick up an Instamax camera and take 10 photos for your whole vacation. Can you imagine? 10 photos. But think about how present you would be. Think about the quality of those photos that you would take if you were encouraged to enjoy the moment and only document the most poignant pieces of that moment. It forces you to be in the moment. It forces you to enjoy the food. It forces you to savor the view. It forces you to engage in the conversations deeply with the people around you. And then they tagged on to that by going into some major centers in the US, like Silicon Valley and San Francisco and New York, where this digital, this busy, this hashtag, this reach, this career-driven mindset is prevalent. And they ran an out-of-home campaign that said, enjoy Vienna, not #Vienna. So I recently got the chance to start rehearsals for a show again. And the other night at rehearsal, what our director made us do is go into different parts of the rehearsal space. And she made us close our eyes and she made us sing. And we had to listen to each other. We couldn't see what anyone was doing. We couldn't see how she was conducting. We just had to listen. What is the person singing next to me? Can I feel them breathe? What are they doing? How am I contributing to this particular chord? And so as we think about this, I want you to think about doing what the song says. Get closer. Listen more closely to your team. Have empathy with your customers. Because at the end of the day, no matter what technology does, We're all just humans on the other side of the screen. So thank you so much. That ends the presentation portion. I would love to open it up for Q&A. So